Today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew.
The air gets heavy when a political sacred cow is dragged into the sunlight. Tulsi Gabbard doesn't just drag Barack Obama out, she spins him like laundry on the fast cycle. What makes her roast lethal isn't cheap shots, but the exposure of contradictions, hypocrisies, and carefully ironed lies behind his brand. The man once hailed as untouchable now sits in Tulsi's rhetorical crossfire with no escape.
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama, as well as his friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week, and the documents that we will be releasing later this week that point to the undeniable fact that you laid out in your introduction.
Obama's aura was always an illusion. He was the media's dream candidate, polished, packaged, and sold as the prophet of hope and change. But behind the branding came drone strikes, mass surveillance, and a Democratic Party addicted to elitist cocktail parties instead of working-class realities. Tulsi isn't dazzled by the halo, because she knows it was bought by Silicon Valley hype and Hollywood cash. What she sees isn't a visionary, it's a slick salesman who sold America a product that broke down the moment it left the lot.
They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claim.
Take Russiagate. Obama may not have been the face plastered across CNN's hysteria, but it was his administration that laid the groundwork for intelligence overreach, surveillance creep, and weaponized agencies. Tulsi calls it straight. The obsession not only failed to take down Trump but backfired so hard that Democrats became addicted to conspiracy therapy sessions. Obama was supposed to be the wise elder statesman. Instead, his fingerprints were all over the circus.
So this is the thing that I think people should pay attention to, is neither the message from President Obama's office, neither the statements coming from Democrats in Congress today and their friends in the propaganda media. None of them are addressing this fact that there was a shift, a 180-degree shift from the intelligence community's assessment leading up to the election to the one that President Obama directed be produced after Donald Trump won the election, that completely contradicted those assessments.
Then comes the irony. Obama rose as the anti-war candidate, the senator who opposed Bush's Iraq invasion. Yet as president, he morphed into a global interventionist, with Libya as his crown jewel of catastrophe. Tulsi, whose career is built on opposing regime change wars, dismantles him like a mechanic stripping an engine. Libya didn't become a beacon of democracy. It became a failed state with open-air slave markets. Obama didn't end endless wars, he rebranded them.
The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election.
Meanwhile, the media still polishes his halo. Journalists clutch pearls if anyone suggests his presidency wasn't a golden age for Main Street but a paradise for Wall Street and Silicon Valley.
They are using the same old tactic that the deep state's propaganda arm in the media uses. Whenever they come across something that is true and that doesn't go along with whatever their narrative is that they're trying to shove down the throats of the American people, they first usually ignore it, as they did when I first released these documents a couple of weeks ago. They tried to ignore it. When they realized that they weren't going to get away with this, that this story was going to continue breathing life, we continued releasing new documents, then they decided, oh, we'll take this approach of say, oh, this is nothing, there's nothing really to see here, this is bizarre, this is a conspiracy. These are the things that they do.
Tulsi doesn't follow the script. She reminds people that the same bankers who crashed the economy in 2008 weren't punished, they were rewarded. The working class got unemployment lines and opioid crises, while tech elites got red carpet regulation that birthed the censorship-happy oligarchs of today. And Obama, the constitutional scholar, didn't defend liberties, he expanded surveillance, codifying the NSA's power to spy on Americans. Tulsi argues he didn't just betray voters, he betrayed the principles he claimed to embody.
There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true.
Years later, Russiagate unraveled into a conspiracy marathon with no collusion proven and billions wasted. Tulsi doesn't sugarcoat it, Obama's legacy is tied to that mess. He planted the seeds, watered them, and walked away while Democrats tripped over the weeds. His true genius wasn't leadership, it was illusion management. He floated above scandals with a smile, a Netflix deal, and an army of sycophants ready to blame someone else.
The second thing I want to address that's very important, Lara, is that you in the clip that you played, you saw John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey stated with high confidence this January intelligence community assessment that they drafted at the direction of President Obama. The fact is that they used already discredited information like the Steele dossier. They knew it was discredited at that time, yet they used it as a source for this document that they claim to have high confidence in. They used intelligence that some of these intelligence community professionals rejected previously because of the lack of credibility and the lack of the ability to vet with any kind.
Obama sold himself as the great unifier. In reality, America became more polarized, racial tensions deepened, and the Democratic Party calcified into an elite club drunk on identity politics. Tulsi cuts through the performance. Obama didn't build unity, he built neoliberal elitism, leaving working Americans abandoned while Martha's Vineyard elites toasted his legacy.
Weeks. If not, go to odni.gov, It's all right there for anyone to see. And those who go in and read this will see how President Obama directed that a National Security Council meeting be called to talk about Russia, that the report that came out of that meeting was filled with tasks that were delivered by James Clapper's assistant to John Brennan and to other elements of the intelligence community. John Brennan was the head of the CIA at the time, all saying per the president's direction, per the president's order. And very specifically, they were tasked to create an intelligence assessment that detailed how Moscow tried to influence the election, not if, but.
That's why Tulsi's roast hits hard. It isn't driven by bitterness, but by lived experience and blunt honesty. She doesn't see Obama the savior, she sees Obama the operator, a branding genius who failed to deliver. The establishment defends him because to admit his failures is to admit their own complicity. Tulsi is immune to their worship. She has seen the costs of elite games in uniform, and she knows exactly how much ordinary Americans paid for Obama's illusions.
It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy.
Obama isn't the shimmering figure MSNBC still peddles. He's exposed as a master manipulator of narrative who left behind chaos, division, and betrayal. Tulsi forces America to reckon with the man, not the myth. His presidency wasn't hope and change, it was drone wars, Wall Street bailouts, and a Democratic Party stripped of its soul. He didn't end endless wars. He rebranded them with better speeches.
It was about control.
President Obama delivered the conclusion that he wanted the intelligence community to reach and directed them to find and essentially create and manufacture the intelligence to support the conclusion that President Obama wanted to deliver to the American people. Once that document was drafted, the deep state kicked into gear and did what they usually do. They started leaking this classified information out to their friends at the Washington Post and others who are working hand in glove with the deep state to lay the groundwork for the assessment that they eventually released that served as the basis once again for this years-long coup with the goal of trying to subvert the American people's will and usurp President Trump from being able to deliver on the mandate that the American people gave to him when they chose.
And then comes Russiagate again, the Democrats' favorite bedtime story. Obama wasn't a bystander. He was the architect of the intelligence overreach that fueled the hysteria. The result? Taxpayer-funded obsession, zero proof, and a party still in shambles. Tulsi makes it plain, Obama rewarded bankers, abandoned workers, and spied on Americans, all while the media polished his halo. This wasn't audacity of hope. It was audacity of hypocrisy.
The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that polled President's Daily Brief document that you referenced that the Principals Committee was called in the National Security Council, and President Obama then directed Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S.
Tulsi doesn't let him off the hook. She exposes how he left the Democratic Party hollowed out, too corrupt and incompetent to stop Trump in 2016. And while Obama scripts his legacy with memoirs, Netflix specials, and foundations, Tulsi rips the script apart. Legacy isn't speeches, it's lives. Civilians killed by drone strikes. Whistleblowers jailed. Americans left behind. Obama turned leadership into performance art, branding into substance. By the time Tulsi is done, the halo disintegrates. The myth collapses. What's left is the truth the establishment fears most: Obama, stripped bare.